Hi everyone and welcome back to One Autistic Person. This video is going to be about a kind of a way that I've looked at to look at self-discovery and self-understanding of autism. When I got my diagnosis and sort of before that, I struggled to put everything together quite easily to understand what autism meant to me. And I've kind of come up with this solution for me that works, and I just wanted to share it with everybody. And for me, it kind of comes down to I was looking at a lot to do with sort of people who were high functioning and people who were high masking, and I kind of saw a difference between those two things. And having a look into the way people see things, quite often it is looking like that's what the way that a lot of people look at things. Now, for me, it's kind of a threefold thing for me to understand how autism affects me personally. And what that is for me is looking at function, support, and masking. For me, that's like the self-understanding trifecta. And it's very, very different from each person from what I can see. And it requires a person to look internally and look at how we are each affected, where our strengths are and what challenges we face. So just wanted to kind of go over this briefly. I'm hoping this won't be a hugely long video because I don't want it to be bogged down with lots of me talking, but just kind of because it's not really about how it affects me. It's more about how I can share this with other people, and if even if just a few people look at it and go, oh, that's made this make more sense to me, especially if you're in that sort of turmoil perspective when you're kind of trying to work it all out at the beginning of getting a diagnosis, or it might not even be when you just get a diagnosis. I can only talk from somebody who was late diagnosed. But for me, it was trying to pick apart 37 years worth of life where I'd done this job that was seen as high flying and was not high flying. Yeah, that's how people saw it. I managed people at a distance. I managed a relatively large team, a large budget, and I couldn't put that together with not being high functioning. I surely must have been high functioning. So for me, I needed to look further into it, and this is kind of what I came up with. So it's three different sections that I sort of look at on an ongoing basis for me to be able to understand how autism affects me. So first of all, is functioning. So that's the baseline of how autism affects a person, based on the autism diagnosis criteria, and this indicates how well a person can fit into a neurotypical world. So that's the way I see the functioning side of it. Is how do you function with in the neurotypical world? Now on a baseline, not this take out any support and take out any masking. For me, that is just baseline. Take everything out of the equation. How would you function within a neurotypical world? And whether I agree with the fact that we should have to negotiate the neurotypical world the way that we do or not is a different matter. That's completely separate. We do have to live in a world that is majority built on the thought process of a neurotypical thought process. So obviously, I'm not going to go into the details of what the DSM-5 criteria is, but the basis of it is that it kind of falls under social interactions, conversation, reciprocity, verbal and non-verbal communication, and then the second half is more looking towards the need for sameness, repetitive behaviours, sensory stimuli, reaction, and challenges. I'm going to put a link to the DSM-5 criteria in the description of this video, because I don't believe that you need to have a diagnosis to understand the fact that you're autistic. I am a big believer in self-identification. I obviously had to self-identify for quite a period of time before I got my diagnosis. I sort of went through a journey of self-discovery around being autistic, and then for about 18 months to 2 years prior to actually getting my diagnosis, I did self-ID as somebody who was autistic, because I knew the fact that I was, and the diagnosis was just clarification for me, as it is for many people. But I want to put the DSM-5 criteria in the link here. I'm also going to do a video separately around the DSM-5 criteria as well. But for me, that is what functioning is. It is that baseline of how we can function, or how we are expected to function within the neurotypical world, and it falls under those areas there: the social interactions, and the need for sameness, repetitive behaviour, and social sensory stimuli. The second part is then support needs, and that's intrinsically linked to where you kind of fall on that functioning side of things. And because there are so many different possibilities when it comes to sensory stimuli, when it comes to how you interact socially, your need for sameness could be completely different from one person to another. This again falls into the fact that this is a very individual thought process. And if people are going to use this in any way, shape or form, it is about you reflecting on that yourself. And then from that, you can look at where your support needs are. So the support it's basically the support that is required based on that person's function. This is based on our function and how this affects our ability to fit in and feel and also feel regulated at the same time. So for me, it means that what support needs do you need to make sure that you make sure you also feel regulated as well as fit in. You might be able to fit in and feel regulated, and that's fine. That's part of your functioning. If not, if you need a support need, if you have if you have some support need to ensure that you feel regulated, then that would fall under support needs. For me, this can either be an external interaction, so somebody to help support me or help me with the things that I need to do to make myself feel regulated or to fit in, or it could be a support need that I'm able to manage myself. So for instance, I use a lot of visual stimming for me to be able to regulate myself. I have lighting that I can change to the way that that makes me feel regulated. I have lava lamps. I have stimming. I have stimming equipment and toys that I use. I have the fact that I pace and things like that. So there's things that are self-soothing and self-support, but there is also going to be things externally that can help with that. So for me to go out into any kind of social interaction that's not something that's planned, or not the actual social interaction isn't planned, I need somebody to be there with me for that support. So it's understanding what support you need in relation to that, though, to that functioning that you've already come up with. So you look at your functioning first, and then you look at what support needs you need, and then masking is the third part of it. So this is how we manage the way that we are perceived within the neurotypical world, and therefore it is a direct result of our function, our support needs, the support needs we receive. So your masking requirements are going to change depending on your function and also the support that you have, the support you've got in relation to the support needs that come from your functioning. So if you're able to, and lots of people who are autistic can go into social situations and excel, that's great. But somebody else might not feel the same way. So when we talk about, one of the things that frustrates me is when we talk about high functioning, it often gets mixed up with high masking. I always thought that I was high functioning. Being in the job that I was in, being able to do the things that I was doing meant that I was, in my view, high functioning. But in reality, what I was extremely high masking. I realized that every single time I was going to work, it was having such a drain on me as a person that by the weekend, a Friday evening, I would lock myself in my room and I wouldn't come out until probably late Sunday afternoon, if I came out at all. I then started working 4 days a week and not working Mondays, and it was Monday morning, and I needed that time to myself. And that's not a small amount of time, it's a considerable amount of time for me to be able to deal with that, with what's happened in that week. And it's not that I had necessarily overly stressful weeks in comparison to others. It was just the social interaction, the demand that was put on me, me not looking after my sensory needs because I didn't understand that I had them. Any added stress on top of that was really difficult. So I realized that actually I was masking a lot. And I feel like masking is the bit that allows us to bridge the gap between where we are naturally able to function. We then put the support needs in place, and then we know how much masking we're going to need to do. So for me, these are constantly working together, because obviously your baseline of functioning can change, because things can change in your life that mean that sensory differences may change. Your social interactions, the way you have social interactions may change, but also your support needs may change at different times as well, especially if it's an external support need. So it might be that you're in a relationship, and that relationship is extremely supportive of you and helps you through in relation to your support needs, and then that relationship breaks down. So therefore you no longer have that person anymore, and you're going to have to then reassess it. And for me, looking at these three things in these three separate ways allows me to continually reassess this in an analytical way. And for me, I need to have a look at things analytically. I can't just go, oh, this is just the way I am. I have to analytically go, right, how am I going to deal with this situation? And it's really worked for me because it's allowed me to moderate my masking and not have to mask as much as I've needed to, because I've been able to, in the past, sorry, I've not had to mask as much as I needed to in the past, because I've asked for more support, for more support in certain areas that I've realised I needed support with, which has then helped with the fact that I don't, my functioning is better and I'm able to assimilate, if you want to put it that way. I hate that word, assimilation, but if you're able to assimilate the neurotypical world better without having to mask, it's not as big of a pull on your sort of internal resources and your ability to be able to sort of carry on without having to have that withdrawal time. I've noticed that since I've been looking at these things, I've been looking at my function, my support needs, and masking, and sort of moderating all of them together and managing them and talking to people around me to get support where I need it. I found my masking hasn't been as required, which is really good, because it was so draining to me. But at the same time, I have felt that my other issues that came with it have subsided, that my sensory issues aren't quite as strong anymore, because I'm able to manage them as they come along, because I'm recognizing them. So I'm understanding that that's a support need for me managing my sensory stimulation side of things. It's part of my self-care, me dealing with my support needs. So yeah, that's this video regarding this. It's quite this one's a difficult one, because I haven't kind of put it down into anything major, and it's not a research thing. It's something that I do, and something that I've used that I use in my brain rather than I've written down. I might actually write it down and see whether I can turn it into something for myself that's and share with everybody else if they would want me to kind of put a little bit more to it. But I just wanted to share this with everybody, and hopefully it does make sense. And yeah, give me a comment and let me know whether I actually made sense in this or not, because it's been in my head and I just wanted to get it out, and it's been great doing that. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.